I have such a hard time explaining what it is that I do. On paper, I'm a product manager for the public API at WeTransfer. But in reality, I'm a designer. I studied graphic design and I spent the last 6 years as a graphic designer and a product designer and an event designer and a leprechaun designer. And that even though now I'm a product manager, I still use the same logic and experience in the way that I work. When I studied visual communication in Dublin. I'm from Ireland, and so for your graduation project in visual communication, you have this kind of 15-week long project where you come up with an idea and you use every kind of skill and piece of experience that you've gotten so far to demonstrate how amazing a designer you are. So like animation and website design and typography and poster design and all of this stuff. And it was supposed to kind of show what you've learned, but I kind of figured that the most important thing that I learned in visual communication was the importance of an idea, and that it was also the most exciting part, and like it's where you get all the goods, and you know, when you spend more time digging into the thing that you're supposed to be designing a solution for, then it makes more sense and it means something. So then I tried to come up with an idea that would demonstrate this as a learning, and I pitched the idea to build a turd polishing machine. So I told my lecturers that I wanted to build this big, huge, giant contraption with like bells and levers and whistles and things, and you would do all this stuff, and then, you know, what came out at the end was just a polished turd. And obviously they were like, that doesn't demonstrate any skill that you've learned or that we've taught you for the last 4 years. So I turned myself into a turd polishing machine in the sense that I made this fake graphic design studio, and I made all of these like posters and stuff and did an interview with the creative director, and it was called Graphic BS for bullshit. And I had a really fun time doing it, but then when I graduated from VisCom, it meant that no design agency wanted some young, entitled graphic designer to be working in their studio. So the first job, to answer the question you asked me about 10 minutes ago, my first job when I graduated was working for the National Leprechaun Museum, because they were willing to give me the opportunity to be a designer, I suppose. To give a little bit of context, the reason that I work at WeTransfer now is because I originally wanted to work for an agency called Present Plus that is based here, or was based here in Amsterdam. And they were a kind of product design agency that worked like a normal design agency, but they would be involved in the product design aspect of projects as well. And that just sounded like really exciting to me, and I thought they really did a good job at it, and they seemed like, you know, just hot shit. So I wanted to work for them, and I spent months putting a portfolio together and was like really excited to like send in my application, even though I don't think they were even looking for anyone. And then, like, just as I was about to hit send for dramatic effect, I read a TechCrunch article that said that WeTransfer had acquired the design studio Present Plus. And so I was like, what the hell? Literally, what the hell? I was so sure that this is where I wanted to work, and now they've been absorbed by WeTransfer. What does that even mean? WeTransfer is literally one page with like 2 buttons on it. Why do you need to acquire an entire design studio for this? So I wrote a really angry email to the VP of design at WeTransfer, and I was like, what do you think you're doing? And asked him to explain himself and explain to me what the design, you know, process and environment at WeTransfer is like, that they need an entire design studio. So Tice invited me over for a conversation, and he basically just explained that WeTransfer's approach to building products is from a design perspective, which amazed me, because that's my buzz. And that's why the struggle that I have in describing who I am and what I do is because I build products, but from a design perspective. So I don't ever want to let go of the designer title, even though I'm a product manager, but I'm like, no, but I'm a product designer. That this was what WeTransfer was all about. So that's what it's like to work there. In essence, it's like design focused product, beautiful simplicity, good vibes, very intelligent people, very interesting people, hilarious people, and yeah, that's yeah. Well, we only started this project and team a year ago, and as I explained, I was a product designer up until a year ago, and I was given a very amazing opportunity to step up as a product manager for this new team that would build a public API at WeTransfer. But I didn't even know what API stood for at the time, so I was kind of winging it. And when you're working, I was willing to embrace the unknown, let's say. And the team that I was working with were extremely patient and knowledgeable, and dedicated a lot of time to explaining to me how things worked. And we would use metaphors to explain to each other what the technical aspect of something was versus the design aspect versus the strategy aspect, and we would all work on it together because we needed to understand each other. And we built this kind of language of metaphors with like airports to refer to like API gateway and all of these kind of metaphors to explain how things worked. But at the start, that was quite a challenge, because it also meant that because I didn't have the technical background, I was kind of out of my depth in terms of decision making on some stuff at the beginning, just because I didn't understand it. And when you're in a position to be building a product and have a team that's looking at you for the direction and strategy, you kind of need to know what you're talking about. So that was a challenge, but again, thank God for the team that I got, that we were able to work it out together. And now I think it's kind of put us in a much stronger position because we had to work every aspect out together, that now we feel like we're building it together. And I feel a lot more confident now being able to make decisions about stuff because I know we're all on the same page. But that was a struggle. As a product manager at WeTransfer, I'm quite erratic in my day-to-day behavior anyway, because my preference is the design side of things as opposed to the management and analytical side of things. Well, I get a kick out of that too, but obviously from the ideas part of things. So when it comes to tools and workflow, I'm kind of all over the place. I'm all for the pen and paper, and then I lose it, which is not ideal. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I use whatever is there to just get the shit done. That's a terrible answer, but I don't know how to answer that question. I'm all over the place. Well, the first one that springs to mind is Slack. And I think the very specific reason why I'm kind of inspired by Slack as a product in general is because of their approach to how they design the product from every aspect and how they tie it all together, and their consideration for the people who are using it. And actually, there's loads of things I admire about Slack, but their consideration for the people using it, and also their own clarity, now from an external point of view, their own clarity on their mission and vision for what they're trying to achieve. So it's not it doesn't have an end goal. They want to revolutionize the way that people communicate in general. So it's not focused on the tool, it's focused on the outcome. And my most favorite article that I've ever read that in any way relates to product design or strategy or vision for products is an article by Stuart Butterfield, who's the CEO of Slack, and he wrote a Medium article that's called "We Don't Sell Saddles Here," and you gotta read it. It is just, that explains it all, and that's what I admire a lot about Slack. That was very focused on Slack, but that's where I'm. My conference talk was about how well, it was called Rethinking How WeTransfer, and it was about how 10 years ago WeTransfer was a product that was built to solve a specific problem, and they did that well, and it was in a design approach to reimagining a problem and building something beautiful to solve that problem. And 10 years on from that solution that was built, the landscape in which people create anything or build, create, share ideas has dramatically changed because everything's interconnected. So, you know, my talk was kind of about how we've been thinking and revisiting how people transfer their own ideas and where they do it from, and building an equally as relevant tool or solution for people who still need to transfer ideas.